Want to know how to make an eagle's feathers and beak look real instead of flat? Follow along step by step and stick till the end for a simple trick that makes your strokes pop every time. I've already transferred the outline onto the paper, so we can jump straight into shading. If you want the full step-by-step outlining process, check the link to my Patreon profile in the description. Let's start the drawing process with my secret recipe for making graphite powder in the grade of your choice. All you need to do is rub your required grade pencil on a scraper. For example, here I'm rubbing an 8B pencil because I want 8B graphite powder. You can also use sandpaper or any rough surface. A pro tip here is to collect this powder on a clean sheet of paper or in a small container, so you can reuse it later without wasting graphite. Next comes the fun part. Place some of that powder on your paper and start blending it with a medium-sized dry brush. When you're working close to the outline, keep your brush strokes small and controlled so you don't lose details. For the bigger empty areas, switch to a larger brush to speed the things. As you blend, keep your hand light and move in small circular motions. If you press too hard, the powder clumps and creates patchy spots. A little trick is to hold the brush further back. This makes your strokes softer and more natural. And here's a quick rescue tip. If you notice tiny white dots showing through from the paper texture, just go over those spots with your 8B pencil to fill them in. It's optional, but if you want that smooth pitch black finish, it really makes the background pop. Okay, so the first step is to build a smooth base. Start blending the outlines you added earlier with your dry brush. Focus on the darker areas first using short motions, and then sweep across the whole forehead for a soft, even layer. If the tufts start to look dull, lightly add some 8B powder on the darker spots. Just keep your pressure gentle, because pressing too hard will make it look like the eagle dipped its head in ink. The second step is to add soft highlights. Roll your kneaded eraser into a thin tip and gently lift graphite from the lighter portions. Use small flicks so the highlights fade out naturally. And remember, if you press a kneaded eraser too hard, it behaves like bubble gum on paper. It starts to drag and stick instead of lifting. Now the third step is all about refining the texture with feather flicks. Use your mono zero eraser along the forehead edge to add short, curved strokes. Keep them slightly different in length and direction, because if every line looks the same, it starts to resemble fence posts lined up perfectly, which makes the texture stiff and unnatural. In the lighter areas, flick quick V-shaped highlights to form feather tufts. And resist the urge to go over the same stroke again and again, because that just turns the texture into one big blob instead of clean feather strands. The fourth step is to add depth with darker strokes. Place thin, dark strokes beside your highlights using an 8B on the darker areas and B pencil for the lighter ones. Change the pressure as you go, so some lines are bold and some are subtle. If every stroke looks identical, the feathers end up stiff, almost like cardboard cutouts. Add a few tapered separation strokes and some curved lines in the center of tufts to build texture and give them dimension. And finally, the last step is all about finishing touches. Balance the tones by extending highlights that look dull, adding missing details with a 2H pencil, and deepening shadows with an 8B where needed. For an extra natural look, dab your kneaded eraser gently over the centers of a few tufts to soften them. Then take a step back from your drawing. If it looks realistic from a distance, you know your texture is working. By the way, if you're a complete beginner and you keep throwing away your drawings because you feel like you just can't draw, it's not your fault. You just don't know the basics yet. And that's exactly why I made this full course, to help you go from shaky lines to realistic drawings step by step. It covers everything from basic lessons to advanced techniques, tips and tricks, all structured in a clear step-by-step format, so you don't have to guess your way through it. Thousands of students are already learning and growing through the course. and it's currently one of the top-rated drawing courses on Udemy. I put my course on sale for 5 days every month just for my YouTube family. Check the link in the description or comments to see if the sale is live right now, and get enrolled before it ends. If you want your drawing to feel alive, the secret is always in the eye. Whether it's an eagle, a cat, or even a portrait, the same steps apply. Once you get this part right, the whole artwork instantly looks more realistic. So let's break it down. The first step is to sharpen the outline. Use your 8B pencil to darken it, and if it gets too thick, clean it from the inside with your eraser. Next is building the base of the iris. Shade one side darker, keep the other softer, and make sure the pupil is completely pitch black. Always keep your pressure light, as many beginners make a mistake by pressing too hard, which leaves dents in the paper. Those dents will catch graphite later and make the eye look patchy and uneven instead of smooth. While working on this section, you can also add darker feather details around the eye. With an 8B pencil, place the tip where you want the stroke to start and flick it outward to create soft fur-like textures. As you move farther out, make the strokes a little longer, but always follow the natural flow, as going against it will make the feathers look stiff. Once the base is smooth, use your eraser to add highlights. A ring of tiny dots along the pupil instantly makes it look sharp and defined. It's time to fill the lighter part of the iris. Use small dots close together until the whole area is covered. Think of it like shading with tiny seeds. The denser you plant them, the darker it looks, and the more space you leave, the lighter it feels. Vary your pressure to add some dots brighter and some softer so the iris doesn't look flat. Now layer in darker details with your 8B pencil for depth. Place the dots closer together in the shadowed areas so they look richer and deeper. And if you want extra brightness, a white gel pen can turn those highlights into pure shine. Don't forget to add a few bright strokes on the pupil to mimic reflections. These are the little sparks that make an eye look alive. Finally, don't forget the feathers around the eye. Blend gently, then add short highlights with your eraser and balance them with thin, dark pencil strokes in between. Variety is key. If every stroke looks the same, the texture becomes stiff, which makes it unnatural. Mix short and long, light and dark, and suddenly the area feels soft and lifelike. And the best part is that once you master this process, you can use it for any eye you ever draw. Whether it's an eagle's eye or any other bird or animal, the same layering of shadows, dots, and highlights will always make the eye look alive. Now let's work on that narrow strip between the eye and the beak. We'll keep it simple and tackle it in just 3 easy steps. The very first step is to create a 3D base. No surprise there, right? At this point, it's basically my signature move. Shade the whole strip with your pencil at a low angle, pressing harder where you want a darker tone and easing off for lighter areas. Now grab your medium-sized dry brush and start blending it in small circular motions. Beginners often make the mistake of using back and forth strokes with too much pressure, and that can leave patchy marks, almost like streaks on a dirty window. Keep your touch soft and the base will look smooth. The second step is adding darker strokes. Use a sharp pencil and flick longer strokes along the strip. Don't keep them all the same length or direction. If you do so, the feathers will look stiff, almost like comb teeth lined up too neatly. Instead, vary the strokes and leave more gaps in the center to suggest lighter, thinner fur. You can even mix in a few 8B strokes for extra depth. And the final step is to lift highlights. Use your kneaded eraser and dab gently over the starting points of the strokes. Add a few more highlights in the center since that part usually catches more light. Many artists rub the eraser too hard, which ends up erasing whole sections instead of lifting texture. Dab lightly, and if the highlights look too strong, just soften them with your brush. With these 3 steps of base, strokes, and highlights, this little strip instantly blends the eye and beak together, making the whole face look natural and 3D. Now let's work on the nostrils portion. Start by filling the nostrils in with your 8B pencil so they look deep and pitch black. Then soften the edges with a lighter pencil like 3B using very light pressure. You can also add a light base on this nostril portion using the same pencil, keeping the pressure low. Next, blend the area gently in circular motions and extend a bit of the nearby fur so everything connects smoothly. Now for the fun part, that is texture. Use your Mono Zero eraser to pull out one bright stroke along the edge. That little highlight instantly makes the edge pop. After that, add tiny dots and short random strokes like scratches and pores to give it a rough surface. The mistake many beginners make is making these marks too uniform, and then the nostril starts looking like fabric pattern instead of skin. Finally, dab your kneaded eraser for soft highlights, and if the center looks flat, layer in a little 2H pencil to give it subtle depth. And that's it. With just a deep base, some random textures and a few highlights, you can make the nostril look natural and tied in with the rest of the face. Okay, so how do you make a beak look hard and full of scratches instead of smooth and flat? That's a question I see beginners ask all the time, so let's learn it right now. The first step is to lay a smooth base. Turn your 8B pencil into graphite powder by rubbing it on a scraper or sandpaper, then place the powder on the beak and blend it with a dry brush. Use more powder on the lower part for a darker base and less as you move upward to create a gradient. Keep your pressure light as pressing too hard here makes the beak look patchy instead of smooth. If the lower portion still looks too light, shade it with your 8B pencil, but hold the pencil at a shallow angle so the strokes stay soft. For the upper portion of the beak, use a bigger brush to blend lightly and keep the surface polished. Now it's time for highlights, so grab your Mono Zero eraser to pull out thin strokes along the edge of the beak. Beginners often skip this, and that's why their edges of the drawings look flat. Think of this step as adding that glossy shine you see on polished wood. If the highlight looks too wide, narrow it by shading lightly with your 2H pencil. Finally, let's add textures, and for that, use a mix of eraser strokes, dots and flicks to suggest scratches and roughness on the surface. Layer them close together where you want more intensity and space them out in lighter areas. With the electric eraser, add a few bright dots and short flicked strokes. I like to press down to make a dot and then pull slightly to turn it into a glowing mark. But a quick tip here is to avoid adding too many, or the beak will start looking plastic instead of natural. To balance everything, go back in with your 8B pencil to sharpen and darken around the highlights. And now you've learned how to shade a beak realistically. Now let's move on to the body, and here's the good news. You already know the technique of creating feather texture from the forehead. Think of this as the bigger canvas version. First, build your base with graphite powder, pressing more into the darker areas and letting it fade out in the lighter ones. Then blend it smooth with a tissue. Don't worry about perfection here. You just need a clean base for the texture. Next, add feather strokes using the same V-shaped pattern we practiced earlier using a B pencil. On the lighter tufts, use your mono eraser to create straight parallel strokes, lifting more graphite at the start of each stroke by pressing slightly harder, then easing off towards the end. Beginners sometimes keep the strokes too identical, and then the body ends up looking more like a barcode than real feathers, so keep them random and varied. Add sharp 8B strokes between the lighter ones to make them pop. Then switch to B pencil as you move up and finish with a few curved strokes in the center, and suddenly the tufts have depth and definition. Always add a mixture of dots and strokes to achieve rough patches. Here I am using a B pencil. The fun part is to use a sharp electric razor to punch in bright dots and little clusters of strokes as you move upward. This instantly suggests tiny feather tufts growing out of the beak. Drop in a few extra dots to fill the empty gaps and the texture really starts coming together. If the texture looks too bright, then you can always run your 8B pencil between those highlights. That one move gives instant depth and sharpness, turning a flat patch into a beak that feels tough and real. Don't forget to add a few longer strokes under the beak using your electric eraser with a flat tip. This instantly breaks the flatness and adds life to the transition. Make sure you fill the background thoroughly so that the body details pop forward like they're glowing off the page. Remember this quick tip that wherever you are adding fur on a darker base, use your eraser, and for lighter base, use your pencil. Then add lighter strokes right beside them and you'll see how instantly they pop and look needle-like. Finally, fill in the last bits of background. And there you have it, the quick and easy eagle drawing. If you found this useful, hit like to support more free tutorials. And if you're an absolute beginner and want to learn drawing from scratch, you can join my course here. So thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.